Well, welcome to another episode of Beatlemania Revisited. So the self-isolation emergency lockdown has been extended, so I started learning some songs for later in the year in case we still find ourselves in this situation or predicament. Like this one, So this is Christmas, and what have you done? Another year over, and a new one just begun. Well, I hope it doesn't go that long. Anyway, there's many, many great Beatles songs that I'd like to do, but I'm not able to do them because the Beatles sometimes sing in such high registers. The range is so high that they're reaching for. It's way beyond my vocal range to even come close to it. But fortunately for me, about 11 years ago, I ran into these two lunatics who play music together. It's a father-in-law and son-in-law duo, Bruce and Lee, and they become great friends. And their voices blend together, they harmonize together so beautifully, and they can sing up in that higher register that's so spectacular. So they started inviting me to come out to their rehearsals about 11 years ago, and I would sit in with my electric guitar and add little pieces to what they were doing. And they realized I was kind of fond of Beatles songs. So to sweeten things up for me, they started adding more Beatles songs to what they were doing. So over the years, we've done, Ticket to Ride. I love that song. And we've done A Hard Day's Night. Yeah, something like that. They had a version they do in rehearsal sometimes just to make it fun where we do She Loves You, which is like way up there. We have 8 days a week. All that. They do all those songs. We have a 3-part version to This Boy. That boy took my love away. All that. Oh, just great fun for me to be playing those songs with them. And they've also done, with a little help from my friends, we've done You Can't Do That. Anyway, on any given night when I'm playing with the boys, they'll usually inject 5 or 6 Beatles songs into the set just to sweeten it up for me. Most recently, they've been doing From Me to You. They have a great version of the Beatles' Act Naturally, Obla Di Obla Da, Can't Buy Me Love, and then Bruce is screeching out Twist and Shout at the end of the night, like John Lennon. Sometimes they throw in I Saw Her Standing There and Nowhere Man. Anyway, if you ever saw the Beatles perform, you know that George just often is sitting back and John and Paul are up at the microphone singing and harmonizing together. So I get to sort of play that George Harrison part. I get to just sort of sit back on the stage and watch on either side of me Bruce and Lee singing and harmonizing to some of my most favorite songs in the world. It's a thrill for me every time, I can tell you. So it's been just a great experience. But the highlight of the Dr. Bruce Lee Band, as it's now called, is not Bruce or Lee or even myself. It's our young percussionist, Mitch, who stands just off to my left. He's a great little, he plays tambourine for us, but sometimes the snare drum in the Battle of New Orleans. He's a really talented little guy. And sometimes, when I'm playing along, I'll hit a little sour note, and, Mitch looks up at me like, Jim, you hit the wrong note. Mitch, it wasn't on purpose. But, after Ringo and Pete Best, Mitch is right there next in line as my favorite percussionist in the world. And so we've performed about 300 live gigs together, and one of the steady gigs that we have is at the Boathouse in Midland during the summer months, usually from June till the end of August, Tuesdays from 6 till 9 out on the patio overlooking Georgian Bay right at the marina. It's a really fun night. So if you're in the mood for some fun music, come on out to the Boathouse, 6 till 9, Tuesday nights in Midland, and see the Dr. Bruce Lee Band. You'll enjoy, especially the harmonies of Bruce and Lee singing together. It's quite spectacular. So because I can't sing like Bruce or Lee, I'll just have to cry instead, which brings us to this great song by John Lennon called I'll Cry Instead. I got every reason on earth to be mad, 'cause I just lost the only girl I had. If I could get my way, I get myself locked up today, but I can't, so I'll cry instead. I got a chip on my shoulder that's bigger than my feet. Well, I can't talk to people that I meet. If I could see you now, I try to make you sad somehow, but I can't, so I'll cry instead. Don't wanna cry when there's people there. I get shy when they start to stare. I'm gonna hide myself away, hey, but I'll come back again someday. And when I do, you better hide all the girls, 'cause I'm gonna break their hearts, go around the world. Yes, I'm gonna break them in two, show you what your loving man can do. Till then, well, I'll cry instead. Don't wanna cry when there's people there. I get shy when they start to stare. I'm gonna hide myself away, hey, but I'll come back again someday. And when I do, you better hide all the girls, 'cause I'm gonna break their hearts, go around the world. Yes, I'm gonna break them in two, show you what your loving man can do. Till then, well, I'll cry instead. I'll Cry Instead. That's from the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night album, released in 1964. Another great composition by John Lennon. But a big shout out to my bandmates. I miss you so much, you have no idea. Bruce Cole, Lisa Sakari, and the amazing Mitch Lawley. See you next time on Beatlemania Revisited.